What's up YouTube, Dow here from Zephyr War Games, and today bringing you an update to one of my favourite decks, and that is of course Lightsworn's. Now this is the Lightsworn Chaos version, as you guys have requested in the poll I put out earlier. If you want to see more from this particular deck, whether it be duels, test stands or combos, please make sure you smash that like button and get it to at least 50 likes within the first 24 hours, and I will bring that for you. With all of that out of the way, let's dive head first into this Twilight Chaosworn profile. Now, I keep calling it Twilights. You pretty much probably just normal Lightsworns, but we do like to use and abuse the Lumina Twilightsworn. Still such a good card. Anyway, we play the Mac Daddy of Triple Judgement Dragon. So this is one of the OG boss monsters, and it's still incredibly good right now in today's game. For those of you who don't know, you need to have 4 or more Lightsworn monsters with different names in the graveyard, and you get to special summon this guy for free from the hand. You can pay 1,000 life points to destroy all other cards on the field, and then once per turn during the end phase, you send the top 4 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Now, the idea is that when you bring out JD, he's pretty much going to win you the game from that point on, because he's not a hard once per turn to summon. So in theory, you could summon one JD, nuke the board, summon a second JD, nuke the board again, if your opponent floats. Otherwise, you're just going to go, cool, free 3k beta, and then another free 3k beta. The reason you're playing free is because you do excavate a lot in your deck, or in theory, mill a lot of the deck. So there are times when you will get rid of copies of your Judgement Dragon, and you still want the ability to get to this guy one way or another. Then, probably the second most important is Triple Ride and Hand of the Lightsworn. The only card that has an on effect, mill, everything else is technically during the end phase or after it's resolved a particular type of effect. The idea is this is your starter, this is your guy that's going to excavate 2 cards from your deck. Now, one thing I will say about Lightsworns is it's one of those decks where if you are on a very lucky run, it's one of the decks you want to be playing. If you're on a very bad run of luck, do not play it. Like, there are so many times when you'll go, okay, excavate, I need the excavations to be good, and it's terrible. This is why you have a love-hate relationship with this deck, and that's why so many people want Fairy Tale Snow to come back, because it was such a good card. The fact that it was a free extender, it set up your banish zone, and ultimately, if it did, it would also make me want to put in more times than not the other engine that I'm considering for the deck, and that is the Nemesis Engine. So it's an engine that isn't quite in the deck right now. I feel that if Colossus comes back, because Corridor is like a 1-card combo into a Colossus, you'd definitely be playing it. And the engine itself is really good if you're banishing a lot on a consistent basis. Then the next worst card, but you need to max it out, is Wolf. Obviously, as soon as it is excavated or sent from the deck to the grave, you trigger its effect. Now, in this particular build, I've gone quite link heavy, but I've also gone quite heavy on the pure fact that I'm going to be excavating naturally from monster effects, or milling through natural monster effects, which is why you won't see me playing Foolish Burial. We've then got 2 Lumina with 1 Twilightsworn Lumina. Twilightsworn basically does the exact same as the normal Lightsworn Lumina, but with your banish zone. Now, each of these require you to discard a card. This one requires you to banish a card, or a Lightsworn specifically, and then you get to target a banished Lightsworn and special summon it. Now, these aren't hard once per turn, so if you do get multiple copies, for example, if you've got a Lumina in the grave and you've got a Lumina on the field, discard a card, bring back the Lumina, and pretty much continue your plays from there. The idea is that off the back of that, you'll end up getting to a ride-in, you're going to excavate more, you put more monsters on the board, and you want to play through there. Keeping in mind that Nibiru is still a card, so you do want to try and get to a Appaloosa as soon as you can. But the best thing about a particular deck like this is if your opponent is unexperienced with this particular deck and Nibiru's you early, you will be able to take full advantage because of the Chaos part of the deck, which is what makes it so good. Then for the other Lightsworns, we've got the 1 Felice, the 1 Minerva, and the 1 Lila. Now, obviously, Lila is probably a give or take, it's just for an additional name. Minerva gives you an additional mill, and Felice is if it's sent via a monster effect from deck to grave, you then get the ability to revive it. It does have a nice tribute to pop effect as well, which is really kind of cool, but you don't need any more than 1s of these. Then onto the second engine, we've got Triple Damage Juggler alongside 1 Trick Clown and 1 Hatter. Now, this is both a very good engine and a very bad engine. Now, the issue is that Trick Clown's great. Like, it will constantly keep floating, which is really, really nice. The issue is, off of the Damage Juggler, you don't really want to be adding your Trick Clown. You want to add the Hat Tricker. So if you excavate this, the effect of this to search is going to be a little bit irrelevant. On the other side of it, it's so good because a lot of people have forgotten about this card, that when they try to burn you for game in time, or if they try and do battle damage for game, you can actually ditch the damage juggler and reduce it to 0, and then straight away you've kind of put them on the back foot. While we're actually talking about this, I will talk about the next card as well, and that is the one Electromagnetic Turtle. Now, I know a lot of people don't play this, and I completely understand why. But again, it's one of these cards that your opponent doesn't know what it does. So for those of you that don't know what it does, you can banish it from the graveyard during your opponent's battle phase, and then you end the battle phase, which is really, really good because your opponent will be like, right, okay, I'm rushing to get into time, I've got to go into the battle phase, you go, cool, Electromagnetic Turtle. Now, if they've rushed and not put a negate on board, even if they have put a negate on board, they have to waste a negate to deal with it. And it's a card that a lot of people don't even consider. So you mill it, it'll be at the bottom of the stack. If they're not checking your graveyard or anything like that, it will win you a game or two. I've seen it happen, I've done it myself with it. This card is actually a game winner on its own. Now, it's not ideal, it is a 45 card deck, so if you're like, I really want this deck to be 40 cards, take it out, nice and easy, no worries. It's just one of them cards that, through nostalgia, winning me a couple of games, I kind of want to keep it in. I then play the Danger Engine. Now, I've seen a lot of Chaos profiles that don't actually play this, which is interesting to me because there are times where, when you think about it, you normally summon Raiden, the Raiden gets Imperm, Veiled, or Ashed, and you kind of just go, right, well, if I don't have an extender, I can't go anywhere. There was the time when you play like Goblinberg and stuff like that, but the way I see it is the dangers are just so good for the pure fact that not only does it give you a free body on the board, which could lead you to either XYZ, Synchros, or Link plays, but it also has that ability of getting bricks out of your hand, getting bricks, drawing additional cards as well. You're not locking yourself out of drawing, you're putting more darks in the graveyard, and if you did go for the Nemesis Engine, you're putting reptiles, beasts, insects, and aquas into your graveyard, into your deck, which then makes Eschatos so much more live, which is what I would definitely be putting in if I put the Nemesis Engine in, because again, it's one of them ones where your opponent goes, okay, Nibiru, and you go, right, fine, you've pretty much broken everything, but I still have one card left in my hand. It's a Nemesis Flag, or it's a Eschatos. You just make your plays from there, and then Eschatos can pretty much shut your opponent down, which is really important. And for the last one of that isn't a Chaos monster is, of course, your Plague Spreader Zombie. This is just so good. Like, you bring it off of Halifibrax, you've then got additional plays to make, because straight away your Halifibrax plus your Plague Spreader can go into a Link 3. Off of the back of that, you're then going to get the ability of Plague Spreader to give you an additional mill to bring it back to then go into access code. So you've got a very nice kind of loop play that way. It can also help you get into some of your Synchros, but I don't play loads of them in this particular build, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And it's just a card that if you do Excavate or you do Mill it, it can come straight back. So it gives you that additional body on board. Moving on to the Chaos monsters for the level 4s, you've got the one Valkyrie, the one white, and the one black Collapse. Now, apologies for the different sleeves. They currently share my Thunder Dragons, which are in the very nice Dragon Shield sleeves. So I kind of need to bounce some bounce decks. I should probably get more copies of these just to do that. But the idea behind these is we all know what the black and white Wyverns can do. They're just so good. The fact that they search each other out, the fact that on their own they can become a one-card combo to a Spheres, and then you can make your plays further from there. The Valkyrie is just another level 4 that can be banished, or another level 4 that can banish to give you plays on board as well. For the Chaos Boss monsters, again, I've only gone 3, which is a little bit risky, but I might consider changing this up. I only have one Chaos Creator, which is why I'm only playing it at 1, but then we've gone with Legionnaires. Now, the reason I've gone with these cards is because they're probably the best Chaos cards that are for both going first and going second. And the reason I say that is, if I play Legionnaire going first, it can be an extender or it can be a rip from my opponent's hand. If I play it going second, it can break a couple of cards on the board. With Chaos Creator, it's good going first because it lets me extend my plays. It's also good going second because, again, it lets me recycle my Banish Zone and get to continue my plays as well as being a 3k defender. Moving on to the spells, we play probably 9 of some of the best spell cards around for this particular deck. So you've got triple Chaos Space. I mean, you send a light or a dark, you search out the other component. You're playing a mixture of, I believe, 2 lights and 4 darks for your Chaos monsters, so you're always pretty much good on that. Plus, to mention the fact that Chaos Space will recycle your banished and give you an additional draw is really, really nice. So even if you excavate it or mill it, you still have the plays to make from there. We've got Triple Forbidden Droplet. It's just the best card for trying to break boards. Now, this deck will, of course, struggle against back row right now off the bat, but it's one of these ones where if you set up a board and they Dark Ruler you, you can still play with Droplet. If you don't have Droplet, your next best alternative would be Chalice, but ultimately I'd probably consider just cutting it completely. the whole idea of this is the deck is designed to continue to keep going. So you want to maintain your normal summon, keep making your free extenders from the hand, your excavations, your mills and all of that, so that you kind of burn your opponent out of their negates. Whereas there are times when you open up a hand of cards you want in the grave, and Droplet can help you facilitate that, but it can also help facilitate turning your opponent's board off. So again, it's a 45 card deck. You can cut it completely if you don't want it or don't have it, and kind of make it that way there. But you still need the ability of breaking boards. And that's why I kind of have a tendency to like going second decks a lot more. But the issue is right now in this particular format, it's so difficult because the best decks are playing a balance of front row and back row that it's not as easy to go, okay, cool. Unless I've opened up an evenly, I can't really do a lot. Unless I've opened up a Dark Ruler, I can't really do a lot. So you need to find the balance, and the best card for balancing going first and second as a board breaking card is of course Droplets. We then play Triple Solar Recharge. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've played Lightsworns before, for me personally, every time I resolve this card, I always draw the cards I want to mill and mill the cards I want to draw. Every time. So you discard a Lightsworn monster, draw 2 cards, then send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Now, like I said, I always draw like Wolf and something else, like Wolf and Trick Clown, and then I'll always excavate Raiden and like Lumina or something like that. Always happens, but it's such a good draw card for the deck, it's mad. Triple Charger Light Brigade, love this card as well. So you send top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard as cost, and then you get to add... sorry, it might not be as cost. So you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and then you get to add a level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster from your deck to your hand. So again, gives you Raiden, gives you Lumina. It's not once per turn, so you constantly keep using that. And then it makes Solar Recharge active as well. And the last card, Reinforcement of the Army, because you've got your warriors in the form of Raiden. It is your main starter. You do want to get to it as soon as you possibly can. Like I said, it's a 45 card deck. There are cards you can consider, and the cards you'll be like, well, you could put Monster Reborn in here, you could have Foolish Burial, and all of the other cards like that, which is completely fine. I've just gone a different route of this to kind of make it a little bit more fresh and a little bit different from everything else that's out there. So I'm going to start with the XYZs, because again, I play very minimal of these. We've got the 1 Minerva and the 1 Levier. The idea behind these is the Minerva, excavate, give you the draws if you need them to. Levier, just be able to make it and then be able to recur your banished resources. Again, I don't feel that I need to rely heavily on them. If I wanted to go for more Zeus Central, you'd probably put more XYZs on here, stuff like Time Thief Redoer, and then I would arguably be looking at putting stuff like Shade Brigadine, and I'd probably go more down the route of a PK version, for the pure fact that I don't feel that Zeus is worth any of these. Like, there's no point where I'd want to go, okay, cool, overlay 2 level 4s, make Minerva, attack with Minerva, make Zeus. Like, to me, that just seems a bit of a waste. Like, I'm always going to want to activate Minerva's effect, and I'm always going to want to activate the Levier's effect. So, unless I'm going to squeeze in a Downward Magician to make Levier more effective, like, it's just not a successful route of play. For the Synchros, again, I've kind of changed these up a little bit. Chaos Ruler, in my opinion, is a staple for this deck. Like, the Excavations is free. The Banishing to coming back as well is free. But the other cards I've put in here is a Scarlight. I love Scarlight in this deck. Like, literally, you can build so many cards. Like, there are times when your opponent's right, okay, time's been called during the May phase, and they'll sit there like, yeah, I've got nothing, but you can't do anything. And you're like, yeah, sure. So what you do is you then special summon so many cards from your graveyard and put Scarlight into the extra monster zone. And then you just go, cool, Scarlight effect, nuke your own board and burn your opponent out. Like, it's such a good card. It looks amazing. It's one of the cards that I would always put in and kind of go from there. Now, if you're not a fan of it, you can easily swap this out for any level 8 Synchro you want. One of the more common ones will be Psyframe Lord Omega. Then for this one, I've got the Borolo Savage Dragon. And again, it's just a card that a lot of people wouldn't expect from this particular deck. Now, because I'm going Chaos orientated, I'm going Link orientated, at the base minimum, if I do get into my Black Collapse and White Wyvern, I'm already going to have Striker to the graveyard. So then all I need is Raiden plus any level 4 gives me Savage Dragon. So there's just plays that can easily be made. Again, it's one of the cards you can go, well, I'm not a fan of this, I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to go for Omega, or I'm going to go for more XYZs, I'm going to go for Zeus. Anything like that, you're really good to go. Moving on to the links, of course, you've got the 1 Striker Dragon. So the idea behind this is if you open up White Wyvern or Black Collapse and you've got no other plays to make, as long as you can get one of them to the board, the idea is you go White Wyvern, so Banish a Dark, White Wyvern, go into Striker Dragon, White Wyvern, search out Black Collapse, summon down Black Collapse. The chances are you've probably used Chaos Space, so you activate Chaos Space to get a draw that might fix your hand, might not, and then you turn Black Collapse in with Striker Dragon into Heavenly Hieratic Seals of Heavenly Spheres. There we go. So again, yes, you're taking up your extra monster zone, which is a bit of a ball ache, but by setting this up, you still gives you a nice bounce, and then you've got all of your plays to make with your remaining Link monsters in the 2 zones, being possibly IP Masquerena, Crystron, Halley Firebrax, Nightmare Unicorn for the back row, could be Cerberus if you're fearful of front row. Unicorn, just in generic, very good to come off of the back of IP. BLS, now, this is purely because of the dangers, and when I say dangers, there's only Nessie that's level 7 or higher, but then you also look at the 3 Chaos monsters, your Levianeer and your Chaos Creator. Once you've used their effects, they're pretty much not going to do a lot for you for that particular turn, so you kind of want to link them off, and being able to go into something like BLS is incredibly powerful, because a lot of people, once it's made with a level 7 or higher, can't deal with it, and actually causes them a lot of issues. So, especially if you're continuing to use this effect to boost its attack, it makes it even more difficult for your opponent to get rid of, because it can't be targeted, and then every time it does battle damage, or every time it destroys a monster by battle, it can then either banish a card, get a second attack, or boost its attack. So it's one of them grind cards that works really, really well, but can easily be cut. I know it's a little bit expensive right now, so again, this can easily be taken out for a Cerberus, or you could even go into the Underworld of the Goddess. We've then got the 1 Selene. Now you actually play a lot of spellcasters, believe it or not. We got your Luminers very, very easily, and then all of your Trick Clowns. So the idea is that as soon as you make this with one of those, it's a quick, easy turbo route into access code, because you make this, you're going to have enough spells. If you're going second and you're planning to go into access, of course there's going to be enough spells there. And then she's just going to be able to revive any of the spellcasters and then pretty much let you go from there. That can lead you into defensively Appaloosa or offensively your access code. And then obviously at that point, because we're playing such a high link countage, you're then going to end up having stuff like a light for guaranteed, giving this 3k. You've then got the ability of possibly climbing up for fires and darks as well. So your access code 9 times out of 10 will then ultimately lead you to game. Not to mention that if you've done all of this without going into your Chaos monsters, you then just go, cool, whack out a Chaos monster. That will pretty much tilt the scales and give you game, because your access code is going to be a base of 53, and you would like to think that it's going to be clearing the board off, and then you follow that back up. So, I mean, even if you went JD, nuke the board, and then went combo, or vice versa, or anything like that, you've just got so many routes of play to get you into your access code, to get you into your game-winning plays, that is absolute maddening. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. I hope it's given you a couple of insights into the particular Lightsworn deck. As I say, it's a very luck-based deck with its excavations. There were versions in the past where you could control what you put onto the top of the deck, but I really, really like Lightsworns. I think it's just one of them ones where if you don't care and you're willing to just sit back at locals, have a bit of fun, and see where the luck takes you, it's one of the best decks around, hands down. So definitely worth playing around with, and most of it is relatively cheap. I would like to say that if possible, stuff like Fairy Tale Snow comes back, then the popularity of this deck will spike back up a little bit, but still very, very fun. If you want to see more from this deck, like I said at the start, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more upcoming content, and show your appreciation towards the channel and this particular profile. With all of that out of the way, guys, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.